Hello, this is Krystal, and thank you for joining me for this week's First Chapter Friday. Today I will be reading from the worldwide bestseller, Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. Chapter 1. I wish Giovanni would kiss me. Oh, but there are so many reasons why this would be a terrible idea. To begin with, Giovanni is 10 years younger than I am. And like most Italian guys in their 20s, he still lives with his mother. These facts alone make him an unlikely romantic partner for me, given that I am a professional American woman in her mid-30s who has just come through a failed marriage and a devastating, interminable divorce, followed immediately by a passionate love affair that ended in sickening heartbreak. This loss upon loss has left me feeling sad and brittle and about 7,000 years old. Purely as a matter of principle, I wouldn't inflict my sorry, busted up old self on the lovely, unsullied Giovanni. Not to mention that I have finally arrived at that age where a woman starts to question whether the wisest way to get over the loss of one beautiful, brown-eyed young man is indeed to promptly invite another one into her bed. This is why I have been alone for many months now. This is why, in fact, I have decided to spend this entire year in celibacy. To which the savvy observer might inquire, then why did you come to Italy? To which I can only reply, especially when looking across the table at handsome Giovanni, excellent question. Giovanni is my tandem exchange partner. That sounds like an innuendo, but unfortunately, it's not. All it really means is that we meet a few evenings a week here in Rome to practice each other's languages. We speak first in Italian, and he is patient with me. Then we speak in English, and I am patient with him. I discovered Giovanni a few weeks after I'd arrived in Rome, thanks to that big internet cafe at the Piazza Barberini, across the street from that fountain with the sculpture of that sexy Mormon blowing into his conch shell. He, Giovanni, that is, not the merman, had posted a flyer on the bulletin board explaining that a native Italian speaker was seeking a native English speaker for conversational language practice. Right beside his appeal was another flyer with the same request, word for word identical in every way, right down to the typeface. The only difference was the contact information. One flyer listed an email address for somebody named Giovanni. The other introduced somebody named Dario, but even the home phone number was the same. Using my keen intuitive powers, I emailed both men at the same time, asking in Italian, "Are you perhaps brothers?" It was Giovanni who wrote back this time, this very provocative message. Even better, twins. Yes, much better. Tall, dark, and handsome, identical 25-year-old twins, as it turned out, with those giant brown liquid center Italian eyes that just unstitched me. After meeting the boys in person, I began to wonder if perhaps I should adjust my rules somewhat about remaining celibate this year. For instance, perhaps I could remain totally celibate, except for keeping a pair of handsome 25-year-old Italian twin brothers as lovers. Which was slightly reminiscent of a friend of mine who is vegetarian except for bacon. But nonetheless, I was already composing my letter to Penthouse. In the flickering candlelit shadows of the Roman cafe, it was impossible to tell whose hands were Chris. But now, no, and no. I chopped the fantasy off in mid-word. This was not my moment to be seeking romance and, as day follows night, to further complicate my already naughty life. This was my moment to look for the kind of healing and peace that can only come from solitude. Anyway, by the middle of November, the shy, studious Giovanni and I had become dear buddies. As for Dario, the more razzle-dazzle swinger brother of the two, I have introduced him to my adorable little Swedish friend Sophie, and how they've been sharing their evenings in Rome is another kind of tandem exchange altogether. But Giovanni and I, we only talk. Well, we eat and we talk. We've been eating and talking for many pleasant weeks now, sharing pizzas and gentle grammatical corrections, and tonight has been no exception. A lovely evening of new idioms and fresh mozzarella. Now it is midnight and foggy, and Giovanni is walking me home to my apartment through these back streets of Rome, which meander organically around the ancient buildings like bayou streams snaking around shadowy clumps of cypress groves. Now we are at my door. We face each other. He gives me a warm hug. This is an improvement. For the first few weeks, he would only shake my hand. I think if I were to stay in Italy for another 3 years, he might actually get up the juice to kiss me. On the other hand, he might just kiss me right now, tonight, right here by my door. There's still a chance. I mean, we're pressed up against each other's bodies beneath this moonlight. And of course, it would be a terrible mistake. But it's still such a wonderful possibility that he might actually do it right now. That he might just bend down and no. He separates himself from the embrace. Good night, my dear Liz, he says. Buonanotte, caro mio, I reply. I walk up the stairs to my fourth floor apartment all alone. I let myself into my tiny little studio all alone. I shut the door behind me. Another solitary bedtime in Rome. Another long night's sleep ahead of me, with nobody and nothing in my bed except a pile of Italian phrase books and dictionaries. I am alone. I am all alone. I am completely alone. Grasping this reality, I let go of my bag, drop to my knees, and press my forehead against the floor. There I offer up to the universe a fervent prayer of thanks. First in English, then in Italian, and then, just to get the point across, in Sanskrit. And that is chapter 1 of Eat, Pray, Love, which is available on the Libby app. Please join me here next week as I read from the beginning of A Very Typical Family by Sierra Godfrey. Thank you and have a great week.